I was born in Ponce, Ponce, Puerto Rico, 1936, August 30th. And my mother, we lived on a sugar plantation, and my mother, there was no hospitals there. And my mother had to travel an hour away. And the roads were so bad, we had to cross streams. And sometimes if the streams were up, you couldn't get by, so you had to go back home. So she went to the hospital in Ponce 2 weeks ahead of time and just sat in the hospital waiting for me to come. But she said, I really wanted you to come. And she said, you were born on a Sunday. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. And she said, I was so happy you came and you were fine. And so she told me that later on as I got older. But she was a great mother. And then during the war, it was kind of scary down there because we got into the war in 1941 and the submarines were all around the island, sinking our ships, our freighters, and my dad was in charge of the paperwork for the freighters for the company. They would come from we were only 400 yards from the water, and I was always afraid that some German sub would send somebody up to our house and kidnap us. And my parents told me, I said, I had no religious training because it was all Catholic down there. And so they told me there was a God and he would protect us, and that was it. That was the only religious training. So I believe that. And the parents were so afraid that the Germans were going to take over the island because it was a stopping point to the United States, that they sent me and my sister, one of my sisters, up to live with my aunt in Pennsylvania during the war. And so we stayed up there for a year. And so then we got back after everything calmed down, after we got control of the submarine situation. They were sinking on the North, they were in the Caribbean, they were in the North Atlantic. They were sinking our ship. They had views of New York City and all the major cities along the East Coast of submarines. And you could see what was going on. But we finally got control of that situation. Well then, how did I get to Boston? After the service, after my Army service, I did 2 years in the Army. My sister was at Simmons College, and my dad had passed away, and she became a house mother there, so come to Boston. So I came to Boston. I got a job at the First National Bank of Boston, big bank. And then one day I was walking down Boylston Street by the garden, and I saw this sign, Arthur Murray Dance Studio. And I said, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't play a musical instrument, I can't do anything. I said, maybe if I learned to dance, somebody would be interested in me. So I signed up for some lessons. I came back, I signed up for some lessons. And this is why I think God directed me to go there, because Norma had joined the church about 4 years before I met her. How come she was, of all those teachers, how come her supervisor assigned her to me? I mean, that's not a coincidence. God made that happen, I'm sure. And so we got to know each other, and then we finally went out on a date. And after she left Arthur Murray's, because she finally left there, and I was interested in her right from the beginning, but I didn't know that she was interested in me. She had a 33 Plymouth. One day, after about 3 months, with a stick shift, and I knew how to drive a stick shift because I learned in the Army how to do that. Anyway, she said, would you like to see my 33 Plymouth? I said, yeah, I had a rumble seat. So I said, well, you have to pick me up. So she picked me up, and we went to a restaurant on Charles River, which was now since been knocked down by MIT, and they built that big hotel over there. I can't remember the name of the hotel. Anyway, she told me all about the church, and I was really enamored of it because I loved the plan of salvation, the word of wisdom, all the good things we believed in. And so she said, would you like to know more? And I said, she'd been a missionary. I don't know if you knew that. She was a missionary for a long time, for like 18 months. And if you go down the Cambridge Chapel, you'll see her picture up there. She's one of the first ones to leave from Cambridge. And so I met with 2 graduate students who were doing missionary work, and they baptized me. So I was baptized in September. I'd been dating Norma for about 6 months. In October, we got married in the Cambridge Chapel, October 29th. And they had to get special permission to do that for some reason. And so we went on a honeymoon through the Poconos down to see my brother-in-law and sister-in-law down in New Jersey, and we traveled to see my sister in Maryland. But we came home and started our life in Somerville, and we lived in my mother-in-law's house, and we fixed up. She had two apartments in there. We made a 3rd apartment on the 3rd floor. We made it. Norma had already started before I met her, so we made this apartment, and we had to finish it. Just before we got married, we finished it, and we moved up to the 3rd floor. We lived there for 6 years until Ellen came, another Ellen, and we moved over to Sturgis Street, and then we were there for 10 years, and we sold that house and bought the other house in Summit Road, which we loved. We loved that house. It had a view of Boston, the back. You could see the back. And then, while I was at the bank after 7 years, I wasn't making much money. You don't make much money at the bank. My boss was terrific. He kept improving my responsibility, and I kept getting me more money. But there still wasn't enough with 3 kids. So I went to UPS, joined the union, got union scale wages, which is a lot better than bank pay, and stayed there for 35 years, and did the grunt work at first, drove for a little while, for a year and a half, and I decided to go on nights, and then the computers came out. UPS is slow at first getting the computers. In the 60s, late 60s, 70s, then they went crazy, and they asked some of us union guys whether we wanted to learn some paper, just some basic stuff. Signed me up. Only 3 of us signed up out of all that shift. About 80 guys, only 3 of us signed up. I said, sign me up. So it saved my back for a while. So I did a lot of tracking down. My main job was trying to figure out the bad addresses. I've got a lot of bad addresses. For instance, in the United States, there's a lot of towns with similar names, like Arlington, Mass, Arlington, Virginia, Arlington, Texas. The shippers would send it to the wrong zip code, the wrong state, and I had authority to open up the package, find the invoice. Maybe I could figure it out there. If I didn't, I would go on the internet. Where is this person? Where's this company? We almost always could figure it out. And so that was fun. I was a detective all night long. So that was fun. And then I asked the boss if I could still do some of the physical work, because being at the computer was tiring sometimes, So he said, yeah, just get your work done and help the other guys. I said, sure. So that was good, and I ended up getting a pension out of there, Teamsters pension. And they all vote Democrat. They want you to vote Democrat. I got a call one time from Tag Romney. They wanted someone speak at the convention that proved that Mitt Romney could relate to ordinary people, and I'm an ordinary guy. And so I said, oh man, I'd love to, but they're giving me a pension from the union. I don't want them to mess with my pension. So I just talked to the Baird, Sister Baird, and she said, oh, they can get someone else. Sure, they can get someone. I knew that, but I just needed someone to confirm that. So they got Brother Oporowski, to talk. He did a great job. So that worked out. So I keep getting my pension, and thank goodness for that. That's helping to pay for this assisted living. And what else? Where am I going now? So we had 4 kids. Norma was always so great about helping people in the church. She got her broker's license, and she got to know all the real estate dealers, and they all wanted to put Mormons into their apartments. The graduate students, not college students, graduate students, even with 1 or 2 kids. And so they put them, they always had normal, we had certain houses, Belmont and other areas, we kept them. We're rotating Mormons in and out all year after year. We're rotating them in and out. And so that worked out. She was very good at that. And then, of course, she helped raise the kids while I was working all the time. So that was good too. So where am I going from here? In the church. I had a lot of different callings in the church. Never thought I was worthy to do any of them. I just didn't feel capable because out here there's so many talented people. When I moved into the Elders Quorum in Cambridge, 50% of those guys were going for their PhDs. I didn't even have a college education. I didn't know that. And my first job was Sunday school presidency. And I did that for a year or two. Then they gave me, I was a financial clerk. Before the computers had books, I had to type the receipts. Did that for 2 or 3 years. Over the years, I was a young men's president of the ward twice. Once, then they called me to be the young men's president of the stake. That was very busy calling. And that's where I met Lee LaPierre. And then one day, President Williams called me in the office and said, "We're organizing the Arlington Ward and want you to take charge of that." And I said, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "What about this? What about these guys? What about this guy?" He said, "No, you're the man. I give you 2 weeks to decide." He gave me 2 weeks. And then he came back. I cried and prayed. And finally, my Ellen, said, "Dad, you should do it because you'll become a better person." And she was right. She meant, I would not be so involved with the family. I'd be involved in other people's lives. That's what she meant by that. She was right. You become involved in other people's lives. And you do. You really become involved. And that taught me to be more compassionate with people. And then did that for a number of years. Worked with Sister Baird, the first Sister Baird. And she was a great lady, fantastic. She was very, and she had 9 kids or something. She was so organized. Anyway, I love that family. And her daughter-in-law, another Ellen, married one of her sons, was out here in the Billerica Ward, became good friends with my Ellen. She was just like her mother-in-law, very compassionate, very open. Anyway, so I did that for quite a while, and then went back and did Young Men's President of the Ward again. And, after my calling as bishop, I went to, they asked me what I wanted to do. The president asked me what I wanted to do. I said, I'd like to work with a ward that needs help, like a Spanish branch. So we went up to Linfield, and they reorganized the Spanish branch. First day, we had 3 people. We reorganized, and we had to reactivate all the people there. That was fun. We had 6 missionaries. We went out. They built it. Those missionaries built it up to about 60 people. We reactivated people, and I was mainly working with the youth. They had no cars out there, so I had to round up the youth. I'd throw them in the back of my station wagon. In those days, you have to worry about seatbelts and stuff. Anyway, that was a fun calling. But in organizing the Arlington Ward, it was amazing because people came up to me. We had no teachers. We had nobody. He said, just go. The first Sunday's pastor testimony meeting. They said, just go to it. So Norma and I went and called Sister Darley as Relief Society president. The first thing we did was go and called her. And Norma suggested one of her counselors. She accepted, so that was all set. We didn't have to worry about the ladies. I got Ron Huppy to deal with the youth, especially the boys. And then I think there was a lady that the LaPierres knew that took over primary. Can't remember her name. Great lady. And we were off and running. And people came up and offered to teach classes. They offered to do that. I don't think you do that now, but they offered to do that. And that was a great. One time we came to our meeting with Lee and I looked at each other. Lee LaPierre and Ed Kellogg were my counselors. Lee and I looked at each other and we said, we couldn't make up our mind who was going to be the priest advisor. And we said, well, the first guy that we see talking to the priest, he'll be our priest advisor. So we came out of our meeting now, the office, we walked in to see the sacrament meeting was being prepared. Chuck Matheny was helping the boys. Lee and I just looked at each other and he's our man. So things worked out. But the best calling for me was being called to be a sealer in the temple, which is, I love it. I was able to meet President Hinckley. President Dunn called us up one day and said, we want you to be at the temple at 7:30. Can you be there with your wife? I said, yeah. Didn't tell us what it was all about. We walked into the temple. All these couples were there. And soon we were called into the president's office, President Dunn's office. And Norma's eyes opened up wide. Who was sitting there with President Hinckley? And Neil Anderson was his companion. And Norma and I were looking at each other. What are we doing here? And so I was feeling old. I was about ready to retire, 65. And he was in his 90s then. He jumped out of his chair like he was a young man. He said, come in, brother and Sister Chandler, have a seat. So we sat down and he interviewed us and asked him what I did for work and all that. I work nights. So when do you sleep and all that? And so then he went on and he never officially told me why we were there. So I think he must have thought President Dunn told me. Then all of a sudden he said, after the interview, he said, what do you think, Brother Chandler? And I said, President, I don't know why we're here. And he thought that was the funniest thing. And Neil Anderson, they thought that was the funniest thing. They had no clue as to why I was there. And so then he told me, he said, now what do you think? I said, well, I'm still working. I don't know how this will work because they want you to work a lot of shifts. And he said, I have a plan. He said, can you talk to President Dunn about the hours you can work there? You think that'll work? I said, yeah, I can do that. He said, great, you do that and I'll set you apart. He jumped out of his chair again. He said, sit down here. He put his hands on my head. And Ellen, that was the most powerful blessing I ever received in my life. All the callings I ever had. I felt like there was fire coming through his hands. And I think he gave me the feeling that I could do this calling. Because every calling I felt like I couldn't do it. But he gave me the feeling that I could do it. So I was very confident after that I could probably do it because of his blessing. And it worked out. So because of President Hinckley's blessing. And all the people in the temple are great. They just lovely people. And that's what I'm going to miss. And so my daughter-in-law already called me I've already called the temple out there to see, put me on the list. Maybe they could get me in and see her. But it'll be a while yet, because out there they got tons of people that can do it. So that's the only thing I regret about leaving. So, and all you people in the ward, all you friends who I love so much, all my daughters, I feel like adopting all you single daughters. You and Anna and even some of the married who were so nice to us, is Rebecca Zimmer, she's so nice. Oh, there's so many of you. I can't think of them all. But there, everybody that speaks to Norma and me, I really appreciate that. So that's what I'm going to miss. And the men too, of course, Ron, the two Rons, and the bishop is so nice. The bishopric, and very good with the older people in this bishopric. He makes sure that make sure everybody gets to church. So that's another thing I got to talk to him about. Because I pick up Joan, and maybe Bishop could pick her up. I don't know. I'll let him decide. And yeah, and we moved over here to Burlington to live with my daughter, which is great. But this move is mainly for Norma, because she could deal with, she get better care out there, I think, with assisted living. It's harder and harder for me to take care of her. So I just want to make sure she has plenty of people to take care of her. And Nicky's been great helping me here. But, he's got to lead his own life too. And we have a granddaughter out there that works with autistic kids and with in the high school and across the street. She's very good. She can help me, and there are other people in the assisted living place who can help. And my sons are out there. So it's an adventure. It's a new adventure for us. But this life, mortal life, is very short. And as President Nelson said, you don't really have to be perfect here. We try to be perfect on the other side of the veil. But just try to do better every day. Just try to do better. Reach out to people. Help people where you can. You've always done that your whole life. Just try to help people where you can. And the veil in the temple is so thin. If you want to know if all this is worth it, just go to the temple someday. Some of those ordinance workers will tell you about their visions or their revelations. And just Wednesday, this man came up to me and said, I was holding my father's hand, he was dying, and I had a vision that opened up to me, a dream, he called it a dream. He said, I saw all these people waiting to receive him on the other side of the veil. I said, did you recognize any of them? He said, oh yeah, like some of my departed family members. I said, well, I think maybe your father was ready to go. He said, yeah. I said, the people in the hospital were trying to do all kinds of stuff to keep him here. I said, we finally said, just let him go. He's ready to go. He wants to go. And so they finally stopped doing all this extra stuff. And he went peacefully, and all these people were there to greet him. And I hear stories off and on, not all the time. People come up to me and tell me these stories. And it's so great because I know the veil is so thin. And Jesus is going to, because of our Savior, we're going to be resurrected someday. And that's what I appreciate. We're all going to be resurrected, no matter who we are. We'll all be able to come forth in the morning, the first resurrection, clothed with glory, immortality, and eternal lives. Just try to stay close to the church and keep the commandments, and you'll be able to live with your family someday. That's a great feeling to know that. And I want to tell people that, but I'm not that outgoing enough to do that. But I do I'm getting more brave about that now. As I get older, I tell people I'm LDS. And oh yeah, I met a guy the other day at Joan's place. I said, oh, David, hi. I said, where do you take these people? He said, I take them to the Catholic Church, his driver, and the Baptist Church. I said, where? He said, where do you go? I said, the Mormon Church in Belmont. He said, oh, I know this family in Woburn, great family, LDS. I said, yeah. So I said, yeah, we have a good congregation over there. And Joan has a friend, kind of a boyfriend. He's 94 or something. That kind of keeps an eye on her. And so I keep asking him to come. And anyway, it's great. I love the church. I love everything about it. There's nothing wrong. I hate to see people get disappointed in the church. I said everything was going to work out. All the prophets say that. President Hinckley's main comment was, everything will work out in the end. Just do the right things, and you'll be okay. And that's my feeling. We'll all be okay. Say your prayers, ask for help, and you'll get the help you need. And that's happened to us all the time. So I do feel very confident that everything will work out for the Chandlers in the end, even though we're at odds right now about this move. But it'll all work out. So thank you for listening to me. That's about it. I don't think I need to say anything else.